How do you know what your collection is worth? Lately, I've been getting a lot of messages from collectors who are getting back into the hobby who don't know what their collections are worth. And they've had these collections sitting in a shoebox in their basement or wherever for many years, and they're reading about these cards selling for huge amounts of money, and they just are asking me questions. What are my cards worth? The first step in understanding the value of your collection is to get good card photos of the front and back of the cards that you think are most valuable in your collection. You want to make sure when you take photos of your cards that you're doing so with the best possible lighting and with the highest resolution. And the reason is most cards' value is in part linked to the condition that they're in. So one way to do this is to take a high definition scan of each of the four corners on the front and the back, plus the surfaces of each. So that gives you 10 total photos for each card that you think is one of your best cards. Well, you can do that in your phone's camera roll, or what I recommend doing is installing the NextGem iPhone app, which is a single button press, will actually take all these pictures for you. Once you have high quality photos of your cards, your best cards, you can then get help to see if these cards are worth grading, because graded cards generate higher prices than raw cards. You know if you should submit your card for grading. My general rule of thumb is you don't want to submit a card for grading unless the highest grade that you think your card could get would be worth at least 3 times the cost of grading. And the reason is it's just the cost. You don't want to put in all this money for grading only to have your cards come back worth the same as if they were sold raw. So this is why we want to look at what are the prices for the likely grade that I might get for my card before I pay for getting them graded. Another thing about grading, the average collector thinks their cards are in better condition than they actually are. So if you think your card looks like a 10, chances are it's probably actually a 9. Another common mistake that I see from collectors trying to assess the value of their collection is they'll see the sale of a limited edition card. Take a precious metal gem green Kobe Bryant, which there were only 10 made, that sells for $2 million. And they'll say, oh, I have one of those in my shoebox. And it turns out they don't own the precious metal gems of that Kobe. They own the base Metal Universe card. Well, that's the difference between a few $100s and a couple $1 million. So how do you know if you have one of these rare cards? Well, these early limited edition cards had serial numbers, or they might even, some of the refractors, they'll be labeled on the back as such. So inspect to see if you have serial numbers on your cards.